Steve and Pauline.
Hello, Teresa.
Oh, so welcome. So lovely to see you. Eddie's coming back in a minute. So,
okay,
brothers and sisters in the world, Steve and Pauline are down in England. We're in Scotland, and we have known Steve and Pauline for many years. In fact, I'm here because of Steve handing me a CD many years ago. We got to know Steve and Pauline, and we got to know the Pilgrims of Love, and so here we are. So first of all, welcome, and thank you for agreeing to be to come and give your witness. So Pauline and Steve, you are parents, you are married, you are parents, you are grandparents. Recently, congratulations on the new baby with no name that came on. And so just first of all, on a human level, and we just heard Bishop John talking about the humanizing the spiritual sides. On a human level, how has this time been for you?
Go on, Steve. You go first.
A struggle at times. We were daily mass goers, so we missed the Eucharist a lot. We missed seeing people that we see. We've got relations in the area, the same parish. And the fellowship of other parishioners that we see and support, and obviously miss the sacrament of the confession as well, which is vital. And as I say, Mass every day feeds you and helps you, gives you the strength to evangelize as you go about your day. You don't have to be too pushy, but if people see that you have joy in your heart, no matter what's going on, people are drawn to that, and that's what Christians are about. It's not about sad faces, it's going about your daily business, but following Christ.
Yeah, I think also it kind of, I don't know about you both, but for sure, hearing your words, I hear what's in my heart. You know, that I feel so, for all the times I've taken the Holy Eucharist for granted, you know, and yet my conversion was through the Holy Eucharist. And I've been finding it difficult. You know, I'm blessed to have Eddie with me, but I miss my grandchildren. I miss my stepchildren. What about you? That has been difficult too, hasn't it?
Yes, both our girls are living in Sheffield, and one of them, as you say, has just given birth to a lovely baby boy, and the other one's expecting twins in September, probably August it'll happen. But we've missed them and missed our other grandchildren, not being able to go and physically touch. But God's good. We'll trust in him. Yeah. He's got the best plan.
Yeah, so even though this has been a time of like, it's been a very strange time. We just have to be honest about that. And it's been a time of uncertainty and a time of you know, like not understanding really what's going on. But I know that you're a couple of faith. I know, Steve, you have an amazing story of conversion. Can you share something about how your faith, or how you came about this faith that has helped you through this storm?
I was an atheist, even though I was brought up a Catholic and went through all the traditions. But even when I was young, I never ever believed. I think faith is a very undervalued gift that people just take for granted. I can say I've never had it. I've got it in a second class kind of way. I was ill, and I had an operation, and I had 8 weeks off work, and some relatives crowdfunded me to go to Medjugorje, which I tried to resist because I wasn't really into it. I used to go to church with Pauline and the children, but I never even went up for a blessing. We got married in the church, and that was the last time I received the Eucharist before I went to Medjugorje, which was a 19-year gap. I even had a slight argument with the priest the night before I got married because I went to confession, but he realised I was not taking it seriously and I was only going through the motions, which obviously I was. So I went to Medjugorje in the end. I hoped to get out of it, rang up work, and they said, yeah, you can go because you're still off. You can't work for another 6 or 7 weeks. I was in the care industry. And then I thought I might get out of it because it was very close to the pilgrimage going, and I thought they might not have enough tickets. But they had 2 left. There's lots of relatives playing very hard for me. In the end, I thought, well, it's a week away from the good lady and the children and the a few beers, and I'll have to put up with a few Holy Joes and put up with it. So had a bad journey. It was 6 hours late. We got there at 6 a.m. We all trooped off to bed, and at 11:30, everyone was scurrying about getting ready for Mass. And I thought, well, I'm on relatives, a group of relatives' money, and I'm on the firm's time, so the least I can do is go to Mass, and as I thought, purely as an observer. And couldn't get into the church because St. James's is always full, so stood in the porch kind of space, waving note was round there, and daydreamed. And I thought I had a headache and I was a bit tired, and I daydreamed through most of the Mass, and the next thing I knew, one of the priests had come out from the main body of the church to give communion out, which happens in St. James's because it's too packed. And when I looked up, he was coming straight for me, and I knew from my Catholic teaching that you should go to confession first, but doubted if I'd have the conviction or the courage to go even, because I hadn't been since I was about 14. And in an instant, I decided to receive and step back in the crowd to let them all receive. And I opened my eyes, and I noticed people who were pressed around me were all looking at me, and I realised that there was tears running down my face, and I had a very, very deep inner sobbing. And at the same time, I felt all my sins and offences against God being lifted off me, but I didn't recognise them individually. I could see them just flickering, like a pack of cards being flicked. So that was my first kind of adventure into anything Catholic at Medjugorje. So took me 10 minutes to wander about inside the church, and then went outside to try and compose myself. And I promised God that I would go to Mass for 3 months, and if it was still the same boring hour that I had been doing, I'd drop it out again. So then the next day, I've witnessed the miracle of the sun that many people see. Watch the sun spin round, revolve round, change colour, go completely black, and then then I felt God's love for me, that His love is beyond anything any of us could ever express. I only felt it for about 3 or 4 seconds, but it was very, very I was given the knowledge it was very, very fine tuned down, because I wouldn't be able to accept it. I'd disintegrate. Mm-hmm. If I had it any longer. And it was just, it's so deep, and it's so part of us that we don't realise it. Our own love for Him is, if you wanted to measure it, it'd be like from wherever anyone's sitting listening to this to your front door, and his is from, it would be like us going from our where we're sitting to the other side of Jupiter and back about 20 times. His love for us is so incredible that you could never, ever, get your head around it. And that's what we're all heading towards. And that's what He's hoping to bring us up there.
Yes. It's interesting because Bishop John, one of the things he was talking about was the hunger for the sacraments, and how
you mentioned that.
And you mentioned that, and about how easy it is to take things for granted. But I think one of the things for me that I've hungered for was the fact the Sacrament of Confession, reconciliation.
Yeah. How was that for you, Steve? So you had, there was that you realized that you were a sinner. I suppose that was the sobbing and your unworthiness. Did you get a chance to go to confession then shortly afterwards, or after?
I went the next day. Yeah, it was the evening that time. Yeah, I went the next day. Yeah.
And how was your experience? How did your heart feel?
It was like it's like a switch just being switched on. 1 minute it was the last thing in the world I could ever believe that God existed, and the next thing it fitted like a glove. It was I didn't beat myself up about it. I just thought that that's it. I had that kind of conversion.
They say it's not about feelings. It's a decision, and it's something you make. But I know also that, Pauline, you did something before he left. What did you put in his suitcase?
Rosary beads. We put them in thinking, well, actually, I thought, I don't think anything will happen. I think he'll still be as stubborn as ever, in his belief that it's the biggest waste of time on God's earth. Yeah. But his whole countenance when he stepped off the plane, I knew something had happened. And the fact that, he'd rung me from Medjugorje and said, you know that adoration you go to every Monday? I said, yes. He said, well, you better make room for one more because I'll be joining you. And I thought, wow, you know.
That is amazing.
He actually came back wearing those rosary beads around his neck.
Can I ask you a question as well? Because obviously, you know, like we're a younger couple, as it were. We've only been married 2 years, but you've been married. How long have you been married?
43 this year.
Praise God. And obviously when you came back, Steve and Pauline, you saw this transformation in your husband. This time of being stuck at home and how has your faith, because obviously you share your faith in a very powerful way. So how has that helped you in this time?
It's given us more routine to be able to pray more, because in your busy life, you're always thinking, oh, when I've got time, I'll do that when I've got time. Now we have the time, there's no excuse. So we, you know, sort of start our day with mass, virtual mass, and then the rosary and Divine Mercy at 3, and then this wonderful prayer group of Divine Mercy that we're all part of. That has helped us enormously. Wonderful, yeah. But I was just going to say about Steve, the power of confession. You actually had a vision once in Mass, didn't you?
I had a vision in my own church, where in our own parish, and it suddenly changed into an older one, but with all of us still in there. And everyone in the parish most of them had an umbrella over their head, including me. So when I asked for an explanation later, I was told, because I hadn't been for 7 weeks, I try to go every month, as Medjugorje kind of recommends. And I was told it was because lots of us were, because we hadn't been to confession, we were sheltering ourselves from God for all the graces and blessings he wants to give us. But confession is such an amazing gift, and it's so undervalued, because if you go every month, you realise how often you do step away from God. Or you notice the second you do, if you go every month. And it's amazing if you keep going, you realise that if you want to spiritually grow, you've got to go to confession monthly. Yes. It's like running up a hill with a sack of coal on your back. If you don't go, you can run up with it, but it's much easier to go further. And it clears everything. It helps you discern things as well. You can discern what to do easier, quicker.
Yeah.
People around you, you know.
It's very true. I think, and in this time where it's quite difficult, it is difficult to access the sacrament of reconciliation. But brothers and sisters around the world, you know, you should check with your parish priest. Maybe you can make an appointment to go to confession.
And meet them outside.
Yeah, because you meet them outside. We were very blessed to be able to go to confession in our parish about 3 weeks ago in the garden.
Yes.
So, but also, I think in this time, don't despair either, brothers and sisters. I'm just using this, what Steve has shared with us, because it is such an important sacrament, but we can prepare our hearts for it. We can have that conviction, you know, that, yes, we need you, Lord, you know. So
you need the two, because the Eucharist heals the wounds that are left after confession. That's what it's for. So they're both... But adoration is also very undervalued. Adoration is, because I've had several things. I was once in a church putting the adoration, the host out for adoration, and I was given a vision of all the evil in the area disappearing in an extraordinary way that I couldn't explain. But every parish, every tabernacle, Catholic tabernacle, has its own mystical territory to guard and protect. And if you want an area to grow, not just spiritually, but get rid of crime, get rid of drugs, if you have perpetual adoration, it's because you are truly, I know this from a couple of times, you're sitting in Jesus' true presence. And so many people don't kind of see it as God's everywhere, they say, but truly when you're sitting in the presence in adoration, you know, it's actually physically there. You know, it's and also when you're sitting there, your relatives and your friends that have passed away receive the graces to come up or come out of purgatory bit by bit.
Yeah.
So, and also it's souls going into hell as well.
Yeah, I think I know this, that you're very active in your parish, aren't you, when it's not in lockdown? So you're both probably readers and extraordinary ministers.
Well, in adoration mainly, I cover.
Yes, yeah. That's you're such a blessing to your parish. Right. So as we're coming almost to the end, we've still got time though. If you were to share something that has been a blessing during this time, what a blessing and an encouragement, or an encouragement to
those that are listening now.
Yeah.
To those that are listening, certainly pray more. Read the Bible, even if you just read a couple of lines. Even if you don't understand this, it still gives you the grace. Your soul's still enriched by it.
Yeah, and Pauline,
reach out to others. I think
as well,
Bishop John was saying, have that trust and know that God is in control, and not so much the I, but working out towards others, giving of yourself, even picking the phone up and phoning somebody, or having a kind word to say to somebody. It all helps. It's been very difficult. I mean, I've had a sister that's going through cancer treatment, and I've not been able to support her in the way that I wanted. And my elderly mother, I've not been able to support her in the way that I've wanted. But I know that God will cover all their needs, so we pray for them every night, all their needs, and all their needs are being met.
Amen. I know from Bishop John Keenan, like, to just tie in what you were saying, Steve, he used to say to us, if you're, as Catholics, sometimes I love scripture, I love the Bible, but sometimes it can be very daunting. Where do I even start? And I know, I can say start with the Gospels, but Father John, Bishop John, I call him Father John still. Bishop John says, look at the Gospel of the day, and you can spend easily 20 minutes, even less, 5 minutes, just reading it and let his word. And for those of you who perhaps are not in the habit, you say a wee prayer, ask the Holy Spirit to come in and So anything else you'd like to share?
Well, I was just going to say about the time that we borrowed the money from the bank to take our children to Medjugorje, because we felt they've got to be part of this, and we borrowed the money, and the actual day that we were due to fly off, a check dropped through the door onto the doormat for exactly the same amount that we had borrowed. And we knew that, it was a confirmation really that, yes, you're doing the right thing by taking them. And I have to say all three are still practicing in their faith and very involved in church.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's lovely.
So Pauline and Steve, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a joy to have you. I cannot wait till we can come and visit you.
Neither. Be great.
But meeting you like this is just still amazing. Modern technology is amazing. And for those of you in the world, Pauline's amazing baker. We're just going.
That's what we missed. Fantastic.
Yes. So we're just going to conclude with a prayer for you, and I invite you, brothers and sisters around the world, to just pray for Steve and Pauline. So Lord, we just thank you for Steve and Pauline, for their marriage, for their witness, for their children, for their babies, the grandbabies that are coming. Ask you to bless and protect them, pour your precious blood over them. We lift their intentions to you, Lord. We thank you for them. We ask you to bless them and their children and their children's children, as it is said.
And their mom and their sister.
Yes, and we ask for a blessing as well to her mother and her sister, who are not well. And how old is your mom, Pauline? She's
97.
97 for her 97-year-old mom. And we ask you to bless them also in their ministry, Lord, and bless them in their ministry in their parish, even if it has to be virtually done. We thank you for their faith, and we ask all this in your mighty name, Jesus Christ the Nazarene. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Trace and Eddie.
Love you. Bye.
And I've just got a message to tell me that your mom is watching us.
Oh, is she? Oh, no. I've had it now.
She's very modern technology.
How amazing. How amazing. Thank you very much. God bless.
Bye-bye. Bye.